I never thought the worst day of my life would start with a joke. I was standing in line at a coffee shop, half awake, still wearing my maintenance uniform, when a guy in an expensive suit behind me laughed and said, "Man, if hard work paid off, you wouldn't still be fixing other people's problems for a living." People chuckled. I smiled too, because that's what you do when you've learned that clapping back just makes things worse. I didn't know yet that the same kind of smile would almost cost me everything a few hours later. That day spiraled fast. By noon, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize, and when I picked up, it was a hospital nurse asking if I was related to a woman named Emily Carter, my wife. 8 months pregnant. She'd been brought into the ER with abdominal trauma. I remember my hands going cold, my chest tightening like someone had wrapped wire around my ribs. I drove like I was on autopilot, barely remembering the turns, just repeating her name under my breath like a prayer. When I walked into the emergency department, the first thing I heard was her crying. Not loud, not screaming, just this broken apologetic sob like she was sorry for bleeding on the floor. Emily had always been like that. Even when she was hurting, she worried about making things inconvenient for other people. And standing next to her bed, arms crossed, calm as stone, was her boss. Not a doctor, not family. Her boss, Victor Hale. The man everyone in the company called a visionary, a genius, a self-made legend. The man who once told me straight to my face that Emily married beneath her. Victor looked at me like I'd tracked mud into his house. He didn't say hello. He didn't ask how she was. He said, "You should keep her calm. Stress isn't good for the baby." Like he was doing us a favor by stating the obvious. I wanted to punch him. I didn't. I stood there, jaw-tight, hands shaking, because men like him count on you losing control. The doctor pulled me aside and spoke quietly. Internal bleeding. Signs of blunt force trauma. Not consistent with a fall. I felt my knees almost give out. When I asked what that meant, she didn't sugarcoat it. Someone hit her. Hard. And, as if on cue, Victor stepped closer, voice smooth measured. "She's been very clumsy lately. Pregnancy does that. You know how emotional women can be." He smiled like he was sharing insider wisdom. Emily wouldn't look at me. She stared at the ceiling, fingers clenched in the sheets, shaking her head slightly, begging me without words not to say anything. That was when I realized this wasn't new. This wasn't an accident. This was a pattern, and I'd been too blind, too busy trying to keep my head down to see it. Victor had power, money, influence. He owned half the building we lived in. He paid Emily more than we ever dreamed of, and he made sure she knew it. He joked about how lucky she was, how replaceable everyone else was. And somewhere along the way, those jokes stopped being jokes. They became rules, expectations, threats dressed up as concern. When the doctor said Emily needed emergency surgery, Victor checked his phone. Actually, checked his phone. He asked how long it would take because he had a meeting with investors. I swear, in that moment, something inside me snapped clean in half. I leaned in close and said, real quiet, "If you don't leave right now, I'm going to forget where we are." He finally looked surprised. Not scared, just annoyed, like I'd broken character. He left, temporarily. The surgery lasted hours. I sat alone, staring at the floor, replaying every moment I'd ignored. Every time Emily came home quiet, every bruise she explained away, every time Victor laughed a little too hard at his own jokes. I felt small, useless, like the world had decided I was background noise in my own life. Emily survived. So did our daughter. Premature but breathing. The doctors said she was strong. That word hit me harder than anything else that day. Strong. Because Emily didn't feel strong. She felt trapped. When she finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper, she said, "He said no one would believe me. He said I'd lose everything." That was the moment I stopped being afraid of Victor Hale. Because fear only works when you think you're alone. And we weren't anymore. I started documenting everything. Dates, messages, security footage from our building. Emails Victor sent that sounded professional on the surface but carried this undercurrent of control. And the more I dug, the uglier it got. Non-disclosure agreements, quiet settlements, former employees who vanished overnight, women who left town with money and silence instead of justice. When Victor realized we weren't playing along anymore, he escalated. He called me unstable, said my lack of education made me paranoid. He smiled while he said it like he was worried about my mental health. He even offered to pay for therapy, said it would help me accept reality. You know what he didn't expect? That I'd learned patience-fixing broken systems my whole life. That I knew how to wait, how to watch, how to let someone hang themselves with their own arrogance. The breaking point came when he showed up uninvited at the hospital, leaned over Emily's bed, and said, "This all goes away if you just stop." I was standing right there. He acted like I wasn't, like I was furniture. When I stepped between them, he laughed and said, "Relax. You wouldn't want to make this worse." I recorded it, every word. And when he reached out and grabbed her wrist, not hard enough to leave a mark, just enough to remind her who he thought he was, that was it. Security, police, witnesses. No more private rooms, no more whispers. Victor tried to spin it. He always did. Said I was aggressive, said Emily was confused, said powerful men attract jealous accusations. But lies rot under light, especially when you've got receipts. The arrest wasn't dramatic. No screaming, just the quiet click of cuffs and a look on his face I'll never forget. Not anger, not fear, confusion, like the rules had changed without telling him. The legal battle took months. He had lawyers who charged more per hour than I made in a week. He dragged it out, tried to exhaust us. But something funny happens when bullies lose control. They get sloppy. He violated restraining orders, sent messages he shouldn't have, used company resources he wasn't supposed to touch, and every mistake stacked up. The day the judge terminated his rights, Emily squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. Our daughter slept through the whole thing, tiny chest rising and falling, completely unaware that her future had just shifted. I looked at Victor one last time. He didn't look powerful anymore. He looked like a man realizing too late that respect isn't something you can buy or threaten people into giving you. Life didn't magically get easy after that. Trauma doesn't work like that. Some nights Emily still wakes up shaking. Some days I still hear that laugh in my head, the one that said I wasn't enough. But we're free, and freedom feels different when you've had to fight for it. Here's why I'm telling you this. Because there are a lot of victors out there. They don't all throw punches. Some use words, money, reputation, and there are a lot of people like I was standing quietly thinking keeping your head down is the same as keeping your family safe. It's not. If you've ever been told you're overreacting, that you don't understand how the world works, that powerful people can't be held accountable, I want you to sit with this story for a second. Ask yourself who benefits from that belief. And if you've seen something like this happen or lived it or watched it get swept under the rug, say something. In the comments. In real life. Somewhere. Because silence is the bully's favorite ally. And the moment you break it, everything changes.